What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Niners Nation Instant Reaction podcast. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. Javi Vega is here with me, a Niners Nation host emeritus. Levin Black's going to hop in just a minute. Thought we'd get started a minute early as the Niners wrap up a victory over the Seahawks. Javi, if you had told me yesterday the 49ers are going to beat the Seahawks 27-7, I would have told you, awesome, let's go. Sign me up. And yet, Trey Lance goes down early in the game in the first quarter, hurts his ankle, done for the day, and we are hearing done for the year. According to Adam Schefter, Trey Lance has an injury that's expected to require surgery that will likely end his season.
Yeah, the minute I saw the picture of his ankle turned sideways, I was like, oh, that's it. And I feel bad for the kid because this was his year, right? This was his year to get the experience that he needed to become the franchise quarterback, right? We can, I'm taking a lot of flack for what I said on Twitter, but it's the truth. He's not where he needs to be yet. And Kyle Shanahan made that very clear in the Chicago game when the announcers in the Chicago game mentioned the inexperience of Trey Lance was a big deal to Kyle Shanahan. Those announcers didn't pull that from thin air. That came from Kyle in some pregame meeting. And we come out of this game, he has 3 passes and 3 runs. You had a soft landing spot against the Seattle Seahawks to have this kid throw the ball. You don't need to run him on 2nd and 8. Yes, he's a valuable runner, but he's a scrambling quarterback. He's not a designed runner, which he fully admitted earlier this week when he said, I'm not faster, bigger, or stronger than anybody anymore. He played at North Dakota State, for crying out loud. He wasn't playing in the SEC or the Big Ten with a lot of pro prospects. He gets to the NFL. People are like, why doesn't he run around the defensive end? He's admitted he's not faster, bigger, or stronger. And then I had some people mention about where are the bootlegs and where is this? The defensive ends are crashing. They're not crashing down the line. They're staying there because they know he's coming out backside to throw the ball. How many times did he run those bootlegs in Chicago and today before he got injured? He ran it 3 or 4 times, and every time there's a defender in his lap and he can't get around them. Kyle needs to be better at developing him, and this is also something I brought up to you last year, that is Kyle Shanahan the right guy to develop a young quarterback? I had questions then. I have questions now. And I had questions on Trey Lance coming out of draft, but he did show flashes, and it's in there. We know it's in there. And now he loses a year of reps and valuable development. And it's frustrating. It's infuriating.
We're going to get to the game, I promise, but this is the biggest news of the season. I said going into the game, this was the first time in over 1,000 days that Trey Lance got to start for 2 consecutive weeks. And guess what? It's going to be another 300-something days before we see him again, and he just has not played football. He didn't play. He played his season in 2019. In 2020, it was the COVID year, so he played 1 game. In 2021, we know he played 10 quarters, and now he plays 2 games, not even 2 games, 5 quarters in 2022. He just has not played. And so if your thing on Trey Lance is you can't fully hand him the reins, Kyle Shanahan, because he hasn't played and he's so inexperienced, that has not changed. We're in the exact same spot that we were going into this season, except his entire rookie contract is pretty much gone.
Yeah, and then the other thing is we ran into the same situation with Jimmy Garoppolo. You traded for Jimmy Garoppolo after he had 2 starts in New England, then he had 5 starts as a Niner, and then he had the 2 or 3 starts here before he gets hurt. He had minimal experience, so he never developed either correctly. So it's like recycling the same nonsense. Now, injuries happen. It happens. No one's really to blame for an injury because he got rolled up on. He rolled up on his ankle, right? If he would have, I don't know, slid or just a different tackle, you know what I mean? We're not talking about this stuff. It's a freak injury. It's like the Dak Prescott injury. Things happen. But if you want this kid to learn how to be a passer, Kyle, let him stand in the pocket and be a passer. I agree. It's like, what are you doing? I'm not going to blame him for the RG3 thing because RG3 got injured on a run. Like he ran, but if everyone remembers that, I remember that vividly. RG3 like dove, and then somebody's helmet hit his knee, and it went all crazy. Like that's a completely different injury. Like he dove forward, and that's just another freak injury. But it's just like, what are we doing? Like you spent all this capital on this guy. Protect your franchise quarterback as well. You didn't do that with the draft either. You get cool. Spencer Burford's a nice pick, but you didn't upgrade your center position. Aaron Banks was not very good last week. He played well this week, but you have so much. There's no continuity on your offensive line. It's just like, what are you doing, man? I have so many frustrating takes with this team right now. It irks my soul, and I feel bad for this kid because he has all the tools in the toolbox to get this done, and now a season has been taken away from him. He's played 19 NFL quarters. 19.
Why can't the Seahawks have to hurt us no matter what? Even when we win by 20 points like we did today, the Seahawks have to hurt us. There's a lot of people coming at Kyle Shanahan in the comments. Kyle Shanahan didn't know Trey Lance was going to get hurt, okay? Like, yeah, I agree. I didn't like all the design runs. I think that there's other ways to use a mobile quarterback besides quarterback power. And I think Kyle Shanahan used it too much, but also, like, if he knew Trey Lance was going to get hurt, he wouldn't have run that play. So I don't want to crush Shanahan. It's a crap situation. It's a crappy situation. The whole feel of the season is different now. Like, it's because, like, and again, I'm getting way ahead of myself, and I know we're going to get to the game, but like, let's say they make another deep run and get back to the NFC Championship game. Then you're going to still get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he is a free agent, but even if you keep Jimmy Garoppolo, now you're going to have to pay him a ton of money because he's going to hit the open market. It's a weird, the entire season changed today when that injury happened in the first quarter. I don't know what it's going to be like as it goes along, but it's definitely different than it was 24 hours ago.
I'd probably bet good money Jimmy Garoppolo's here next year.
Oh God.
And I don't know that they'd have to pay him big money because the market, they could have had him. Anyone could have had him at any point this offseason, right? Anyone could have had him if they would have released him, right? But if the Niners gave him $6.5 million to come here and be a backup, what was the offers on the open market? 3.5, 4.5 million? Because no one was going to pay him more than that. So, okay, cool. Say he hits the open market. Where does he go? New York? Because Daniel Jones isn't there.
Well, we don't. Like, I mean, there's
you know what I mean. Like, it's just a weird. The whole thing just gets really, really weird. Now, are the Niners lucky to have Jimmy Garoppolo right now? Absolutely, because I'd rather watch Jimmy Garoppolo than Brock Purdy.
I don't know.
I just because and the thing is, like, this was their, we talked about, this was their security blanket. This was their insurance policy. They're cashing in that insurance policy on a cheap quarterback who didn't look like he had too many cares in the world out there today. He played a little more freely. Did he play like we all know Jimmy's going to play? Yeah, absolutely. Outside of those 3 or 4 deep balls, he went back to old Jimmy Garoppolo, check down, dirt balls, guys thrown behind, high. It's the same guy. You know, does this guy help you win 10 games? Yeah, probably. Do the Niners still have the same playoff chances? Probably.
I like this point from Walton, watching on my Twitch page. Shout out to the people on Twitch, by the way. A lot of people in the UK watching on Twitch. Appreciate you. I can't help but think the Jimmy insurance policy led to Kyle being overly risky with Trey. That's an interesting thought, right? If you're one play away from Brock Purdy being the quarterback, do you run that many quarterback powers? I don't know. Probably not, right?
No, absolutely not. No, you're not taking those type of risks, but Kyle needs to be smart with that. Like, why would you even take those risks anyways? Like, you literally mortgaged the franchise on this quarterback, and the team's success is dependent on his development, and he's lost a year of development. He played he had 10 quarters before the season started. He's got 19 total quarters now. Like, what? I don't know. I'm so irritated with this team right now. Even with a win, cool, they got to win. Awesome.
It's bigger than the win. It's bigger than the individual game. D-Ware 5883. Thank you for the donation. Thought we used 3 first-round picks for extending, scrambling to take what the defense gives him, bootleg, zone read option, etc. Not quarterback power. WTF. Levin Black, welcome in. Host with me on the Gold Standard podcast on Thursdays. I bring you in on this because you and Javi disagree. You think that Kyle should have used Trey more around the edges and used him differently. And Javi started the show by saying basically Trey doesn't have the athleticism to get there.
I don't know exactly what you're pertaining to in terms of, I think the Lance should not be running up the gut where linebackers get to come straight downhill at him. I think they should have bootlegged him and given him more, kind of pass run options, get him out of the pocket, an interior offensive line that sucks in pass protection. Maybe don't have the quarterback sit there on a typical 5-step drop, but I just don't understand why he's running running Lance straight up the gut where the defense gets to tee off.
Yeah, so real quick, this was earlier this week. The question was, this might be kind of an obvious question, but what's been the biggest change you've had to make as a runner of the football from college level to the NFL level? Trey Lance replies, I'm not bigger, faster, and stronger than pretty much everyone else. Guys catch up a lot quicker, space is filled, guys get close a lot faster, and I have to learn to protect myself. Just being in a different situation, knowing how important it is for me to stay healthy. He knows he's not faster, bigger, or stronger than anybody else, and we know he feels awkward running. There's nothing smooth about his run game, his running ability. There's nothing smooth about it. Doing it at North Dakota State versus doing it in the NFL is a big difference, and you can see it. There's nothing smooth about his run. We watched Justin Fields last week run. No issue. He looks like a runner, a running quarterback. We know what a running quarterback looks like. That's why I always compare this guy to Steve McNair. McNair was kind of clunky originally when he first started out. He's a clunky runner. Then he finally developed that stuff. Kyle, you want a passer? Let him throw.
Yeah, that was the frustrating thing for me. Let him throw. He didn't let Trey throw.
Find out what he is. If he can't throw the ball, well, then you're wasting your time. So how about you find out what he is rather than trying to keep these baby gloves on and protect him from everything. Like you can't keep him in a bubble. And
to add to that, perfect point. The baby gloves. Kyle kept the baby gloves on Jimmy Garoppolo, and he played it safe for the last 5 seasons. And he's doing it again with Trey Lance because he's afraid of mistakes. He's afraid that, oh man, I'm not developing this guy's right. So what are you doing with your quarterback? Right? The training camp reports where Lance was up and down, up and down. Okay, Kyle, if he's up and down, why don't you focus on his strengths as a passer? You want him to throw outside the numbers? Throw him outside the numbers. Stop forcing stuff over the middle of the field. Right? We saw Jimmy Garoppolo today. He had a couple balls down the field on the outside of the numbers, and then they went back to old Jimmy Garoppolo stuff. Middle of the field, getting guys killed. Ayuk had a leap for a huge pass. He caught it, but God forbid he takes a freaking huge hit. Right? You're taking risky shots. Have your quarterback, Trey Lance, throw outside the numbers and down the field. You had guys open. Take those shots. Do what you need to do. He did it last week too. It's like focus on what your player can do great. And this is the thing with Kyle Shanahan frustrates me. You know, I've said it for years. Kyle and his QB collective and his minions of guys, they believe the system makes the quarterback, not the quarterback makes the system. Kyle, newsflash, your system only works when you have good players who are utilized to their strengths, period. I'm pissed off, by the way, if you can't tell.
Well, I think there's a good example here, and obviously this kind of throws back to what I know from being a Purdue fan, but I do think Drew Brees is a good example of when he was in San Diego, Marty Schottenheimer made him play a certain system that wasn't great for Drew Brees. He did okay in it. They made the playoffs, but Drew Brees was not looking like a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's why they moved on from him after the injury. He goes to Sean Payton, who said, hey, my quarterback is best in a spread offense. That's what he ran in college. That's what he's great at. I'm going to open up the playbook, give him the system that works best for him, and Drew Brees went to Hall of Fame level. Kyle has to adjust his offense to his quarterback. That doesn't mean you completely change everything. Kyle knows what he knows, and it's still going to be, the zone or the one cut type running scheme. But you need to change your passing scheme a little bit and your play calling a little bit to better suit your quarterback. Is Trey Lance somebody that if he comes out and throws early, he gets into a rhythm better? Because it feels like in the limited times we've seen him that he is that type of quarterback, and a lot of quarterbacks are. They need to get in a rhythm early. And instead he came out and he had 3 pass attempts. It was pass if we have to. He converted it, but one of the runs was 3rd and 6. He's running a QB draw. Like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Why are you running a QB draw on 3rd and 6?
It's maddening because, again, there are ways to use Lance's mobility without running quarterback power. There are ways to do it, and Lance is going to use it himself. Just him avoiding sacks and extending plays is using his mobility. It's
Where's
not like
the Kyle that was saying he didn't want Jimmy to get hit because he doesn't like his quarterbacks getting hit.
Tim Kawakami
said that 4 years ago when Jimmy got hurt. He said he doesn't like his quarterbacks extending plays and taking a hit. He wants them to just throw it away or get out of bounds.
Tim Kawakami just tweeted, the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks to acquire Trey Lance, who will start 4 games in his first 2 seasons. The final pick owed in the trade will be conveyed next April. Really, they gave up 4 picks because they also traded a 3rd rounder in that deal. So 4 picks for 4 Trey Lance starts in his first 2 seasons. Ugh.
You know, I was thinking about it when I was driving home from work here an hour and a half ago. There is no scenario in 49ers history to kind of fall back on and be like, well, I remember that happening or whatever. And similar, you know, you had Alex Smith taken number 1 overall. So you had a quarterback taken high that you were all anticipated. But 1, the team was terrible. There's a reason why they were drafting number 1 overall. 2, Alex didn't sit. You know, he played right away. I don't think we've ever had this scenario of a quarterback that you spend so much to get. You have a team that can win now, and the anticipation is so high, and you never get to see it. That's what's killing me. That we have waited. We all waited through last year when the quarterback play was not good, and we bombed out in the NFC Championship because the quarterback couldn't do anything. And now this is what happens. And we're right back to that same guy, which, yes, I will say I don't think the season is over. This team can certainly make the playoffs. I think if the stars align, they could win a Super Bowl. It will take I think it takes, you know, perfect scenario to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback, but it is possible. So season's not over. But right now, I'm sure we'll move on at some point mentally. But right now, the fact that it's the same guy that was here before stepping in is just kind of like almost like salt in the wound.
What was that, Hobby, that you just flashed up on the
breaking
screen?
news, the 49ers and standout linebacker Dre Greenlaw have reached an agreement on a 2-year contract extension.
Interesting. There was a clip of Greenlaw today. Did you see it? He was holding
hell
up
out
a
of
running
that
back,
ball.
just punching a dude.
Yeah.
And it's
He
like, oh,
uppercutted him.
it's all cool because he's going for the ball. I'm like, no, Dre Greenlaw just wanted to fight somebody.
So is Aziz back then? Because I would have paid Aziz over Greenlaw. Sorry.
I agree.
I don't think they can pay unless they're team friendly deals. I don't see how you can pay 3 linebackers.
Okay.
More than minimum.
Jake Hutchinson on Twitter from KMBR. Kyle Shanahan said Trey Lance broke his ankle and will have surgery tomorrow. He is out the rest of the year. That's it. Confirmed.
Is this the Dak Prescott injury? Is that the same? That would be my question.
I would think so. And if it is a Dak Prescott injury, if anyone remembers last year, Dak played pretty well, but towards the end of the year, he had calf issues on that same leg that he broke the ankle for. And even this year, he still doesn't look right.
And I want to say this with as much respect for Trey Lance and everything, because I know it's an important day, but I'm just pointing this out that this is a fact. Trey Lance played in the preseason last year. He got hurt. He started in the regular season. He got hurt. He started 2 games in the regular season, got hurt.
Yep.
Started 2 games this season, and he got hurt. We don't know if he is going to be any healthier than the guy that's the current quarterback of the 49ers, number 10, Jimmy Garoppolo. Right now, it doesn't seem like it.
It's driving me nuts. It's literally eating me up inside. Like, I don't know if you guys can't tell because
I can tell you're going through it.
Bro, like you traded all this stuff to get a guy because the other guy would get hurt all the time. And in 4 NFL stars plus preseason, he's been injured 3 times. Like, who? All right, man.
The amount of quarterback injuries and running back injuries for this team in the Kyle Shanahan era is, I would all but guarantee there's never been a team that has had this many injuries to the starting quarterback and their starting running back in the last 5 years, 5+ years now. It's never happened before. There's no way.
I had this same thought as Ray Lee watching on the YouTube page. Kyle immediately goes for it on 4th and 8 with Jimmy, but won't go for it on 4th and 1 last week with Trey Lance. I was happy that he went for it this week. He went for it a couple times on 4th down, but he could have changed the game if he went for it on 4th down last week. It's just a weird day. We haven't even talked about the win yet. We haven't even talked about the 49ers beat the Seahawks for just the 3rd time since 2014. And we have not talked about the win yet because of what has happened with Trey Lance and him now officially being out for the year, ankle surgery. I mean,
there's a reason why I put this up. It says group therapy. That's what this instant reacts is. It's a group therapy session.
It's just frustrating. Like, I just feel bad for the kid. Right?
Yeah.
He's been scrutinized left and right. Yeah, have I been a little bit critical of him? Yes, but at the same time, like, he's not going to get these valuable reps. And if he doesn't pan out to be the guy, you don't have any picks to find a replacement. Like, what do you? obviously the team can't plan for this, but Jesus Christ, the play calling with this was atrocious. Like the minute Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, okay, cool, we're throwing the ball.
Yep. I think the writing is on the wall of what Kyle Shanahan thinks. And
Trey Lance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And if people are going to get mad about that, then you can't get mad about the fact that I said that 3-4 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't throw the ball and Kyle didn't trust him. Because it's the same thing. Kyle has a trust problem. Kyle has a love affair with Kirk Cousins and guys like that. Right? If you can't,
I think it should be said that the big part that Kyle Shanahan fails at as a head coach is with trusting players, which is weird because some players he will trust when they don't deserve it, and others he will not trust even though they haven't done anything to cost it. He's just, I think he's very stubborn about certain things, and he can't get out of his own way sometimes. Like you drafted a quarterback number 3 overall, and you refuse to let him pass to figure out what he is. It's common sense, and yet Kyle Shanahan doesn't have it, and yet we know he's incredibly smart. I just don't get the thought process. Hey, we have this amazing kid that we traded up for, and we don't want to see what he can do. We want to try to hide him at all times.
and I agree with you, Levin. I think he doesn't trust him. I think he's scared to death that he's going to make a mistake. I think he's scared to death that, hey, and we also said this before, once Trey starts, Kyle's clock starts too.
Mm-hmm.
So if he missed, Kyle's out of a job in San Francisco.
Well, and this is the thing too, is they want to have their cake and eat it too. He's afraid to let Trey Lance make those mistakes because he knows he's under 500 as a head coach, and he knows the roster's in a really good spot. And so it's ultimately, he's just afraid. He needs to stack those wins. He wants to stack those wins. I think it's part of the reason he didn't put Trey Lance in last season, because he was just scared and he thought, well, Jimmy's winning, and who cares if he gets hurt again? Can he go back out there and play? Because I got to win these games. I'm still under 500. I think that's a huge part of it. Shout out to Don Anderson watching on the YouTube page. Oh, I just lost the comment. He just said, my Lance jersey just arrived. I wore it for the first time today. That is a gut punch. You don't have to wear it again for the entire season. I can't believe this happened. And I know that Jimmy Garoppolo is here, and everybody says, yeah, it's an insurance policy. Great. Except, do we have any confidence that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to stay healthy for the next 15 games? No. We were a snap away from Kyle Juszczyk playing quarterback today. Think about that.
Can I just throw this out there? I think Trey Lance obviously gets next year. If it doesn't go well, guess who's a free agent?
Kirk Cousins. I said it a couple of weeks ago. Kirk Cousins could be back. I could see that happening.
He would be entering his age 36.
Kyle doesn't care.
I didn't realize Kirk was that old. Like, I was thinking he was going to be like 32, and I just looked and I was like, holy crap.
And he's going to come off a great year this year, too.
Rob, didn't we have this conversation the other day via text? Didn't I?
It's ridiculous.
Kyle does not deserve another quarterback while he's in San Francisco. I do not care, Jed York.
Oh, my
You've had
goodness.
your time. Kyle,
I will say this.
No.
I think we've hit the point where Kyle Shanahan needs to coach, and that's it. And if he can't accept that, okay.
But
that's your problem.
We're blaming Kyle Shanahan for this injury? Is that because I don't blame him?
No. I think we're blaming him for putting Trey Lance in the situation where he's running up the gut. We're blaming him for not instilling confidence in him and not allowing him to pass. And we're talking about next year. If it doesn't work out, I think at best, Kyle Shanahan should no longer get control over everything, which is what we believe he has. We know he can't freaking pick a running back.
Oh, Christ. So Jake Hudson at KMBR, Kyle Shanahan on if he regrets running Trey Lance up the middle. Anytime a guy gets hurt, I wish I didn't call that, but no, that's something we're going to do and something we're going to continue to do. Says he thinks it's something that gives him a chance to succeed. If Kyle told us what he thought about Jimmy Garoppolo with the play calls previously, Kyle's telling us what he thinks about Trey Lance right now with his words and his actions. And Kyle did the same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo when people asked him, did Jimmy get better? No, the team around him got better.
Right.
Kyle is telling you what he thinks right now.
How can he have a definitive opinion? We haven't seen this kid. How could he know? How can anybody know? Isn't that what we've been talking about for 6 months? Is that you can't have a strong take one way or the other because the dude literally has not played?
This is where this goes back to why doesn't Jimmy Garoppolo throw the ball deep? Because he was getting picked off in practice. So maybe Kyle doesn't trust Trey to throw in practice because he's throwing dirt balls or things are all high or he's not great in practice because we heard all offseason, whether we want to believe it or not, it was in there. He had up and downs. There was days he was really bad. There was days he was really good, but more bad than good in this offseason. And I listened to John Middlecoff and Guy Haberman quite a bit. They said it early on. They're like, he's not close. This kid is not Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not close. He wasn't close.
How do they know? Were Middlecoff and Haberman at the Bills training camp when Josh Allen came into the league? Like,
I think Rob, I tweeted out the other day. None of these 2021 quarterback class, none of them look like Herbert or Burrow. We're not even close. None of them. Not one. And it's a fact.
I don't remember Josh Allen as a rookie. I'm not going to lie. And I didn't watch him closely, so I'm not going to say that. To Jim Anderson watching on the Facebook page, we got a W, be happy. Yeah, I know we got a W, dude, but the future of the franchise just broke his ankle and he's out for the year. So, sorry.
Look,
okay?
we will move on, but this week is going to be more of a somber one. After this week, I think, okay, Lance is done. We've said our piece. You move on. It's this season. You make the best of it, even though it's really a conflicting spot to be in. It's hard to put into words because you want the team to win. You are a fan of the team, and thus now you're wanting Jimmy to succeed. And yet you didn't want Jimmy to succeed, 3 weeks ago? Because you thought he was going to be off the team. So it's like you're now rooting for the guy that you wanted out of here. It's just a weird spot to be in, and I think there's going to take some time to fully make that swap.
Yes, I need a hug. It's been a rough week.
Yeah.
In general.
At
least I get to go see Jimmy Garoppolo in Denver next week. I'm glad I paid for those tickets.
Let me
Yeah,
say
you get to see Russ finally turn it on. That's what's going to happen. He's had 2 bad weeks, and now the Niners are going to show up, and suddenly it looks like old Russ again.
Kill me now.
This is an amazing comment from Ben Richards watching on the Twitch page. Please, Kyle, leave and take your Longhorn wide receiver tapes with you. That's true, by the way. For anyone that doesn't know, Kyle Shanahan shows the wide receivers film of Kyle Shanahan when he was at Texas as a wide receiver running routes. That happens. Muhammad Sanu told me that.
You weren't good in college, Kyle.
That's unbelievable and hilarious. One more comment I want to get, and that'll hopefully take us over to the game because I know people want to hear about the game. You're too negative. Our franchise quarterback just is out for the season, but we're supposed to be positive about it. But anyway, so Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, and you know that coaches always do those interviews at halftime. Kyle Shanahan was asked by Fox. I'm sorry, I don't remember the sideline reporter's name. That's my bad. But she asked him, like, how much of the offense has to get thrown out now that Trey Lance isn't in the game? Kyle's response was most of it, which, again, he spent weeks and weeks telling us the offense is not that different with Trey. It's not going to be that much different. You're just adding things here and there. Trey Lance goes out, and when you get asked how different is the offense, you basically say it's totally different. So, again, it's just more like of the 49ers contradicting themselves and not being honest about stuff.
I like this Twitter post from Pilo. He responded to the video of Kyle responding saying, "I'm hurting for him," meaning Lance, and he said, "Take out the four." So it's just, "I'm hurting him." Like, I like that.
Right. Well, the upside, no turnovers and 1 penalty for the Niners today.
The downside, Jimmy still had his turnover worthy play.
Several.
Look, still had the throws that were, that could have.
It felt a little different though. Like, I didn't have as much anger, and maybe it's just because I was so sad, but I was angry last year watching Jimmy Garoppolo because I felt like they had potentially a better alternative that they were just choosing not to use. It's different with him coming off the bench and no Trey there. Like, they had Trey, they tried to start Trey, he's hurt now. All we have is Jimmy Garoppolo. So it was more like, I know what to expect, and he's doing the thing we expect him to do. Like, it's unfair, right, Javi, to ask ask Jimmy Garoppolo to be a different quarterback than he has been up to this point.
I don't believe Kyle Shanahan for a second when he said that most of the playbook went out of the most. So what are you going to do? You're going to run Trey 15 times? Was that what you're going to do? Was that the play calls? That's what it was? You're going to run him 15 times against one of the worst secondaries in the NFL.
Here's how much BS Kyle is spewing right now. He was asked if the 4 straight pass calls right after Jimmy came in had anything to do with changing quarterbacks, and he said no, those were the same play calls I would have had with Trey Lance.
He's
That was
never
the
run
game
4
script.
straight passes
It's like,
with Trey Lance.
huh? So the whole playbook went out the window when Trey Lance gets hurt. Yet you're saying you ran the exact same game script that you had for Trey Lance. That contradicts itself in the same exact press conference.
That's why, like, you got to call him on this stuff because he just says whatever, and he like doesn't. I don't know if he doesn't think we keep track or what the hell the problem is. Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way, in the game, 13 of 21, 254 yards or 154 yards. Sorry, I have the graphic wrong. That's my bad. 154 yards and a touchdown through a wide Shanahan special. Ross Dwelly was wide open, and he ran it in for a touchdown. There we go. I fixed the graphic. He was Jimmy. He was exactly who he was, underthrowing deep balls left, right, and center. It was interesting when he first came in. They did take some shots deeper down the field and outside the numbers, right, Javi?
He had the one throw to Ayuk that was a dime. That was a dart, and Ayuk dropped it. So I'll give him credit for that one. That was one of the few. But you can tell the arm fatigue was there too. He hasn't thrown a lot of passes. And I'm not trying to be funny. He hasn't thrown many passes since the surgery. He does his light workout, and now he's got backup reps. Since then, he didn't play in the preseason. He didn't have much of an offseason. So you can see a lot of his balls were dying today, but he's now the starter again. So he's going to get all his reps back. So he can build up the arm stamina and everything else for him. But man, they got the win. Awesome. Cool. They're 1-1. They're going into Denver. Can this team win 10 games? Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Here's a little bit of Kyle arrogance coming out. He said Buffalo does this all the time with their quarterback. It's a pretty normal play. It's a part of football. And it's unfortunate he hurt his ankle on it, but it's a very normal play. Here comes the arrogance. You guys should watch some other people.
Oh, my God. See, I was with you right up until the end, Kyle.
Yeah.
Like
Kyle, we're live, so I can't say it. He's mad he's getting questioned because right now I think there's a tone change in this post-game press conference from what he's used to, and he does not like it.
God forbid the great Kyle Shanahan that's under 500 gets questions. And look, I'm a Kyle Shanahan fan, but I have no tolerance for people in positions of power to act like they should never be questioned. And nobody has more power in the 49ers organization other than Jed York than Kyle Shanahan.
And to respond with, well, you guys should watch other people, like the media doesn't watch football, doesn't know what other teams
I'd argue that they don't. Some of them don't, but that's fine.
Some might not.
I mean, and none of them are going to press him. Like, they won't press him to the point where it's New York level, right? Where Robert Saleh has to be like, I'm keeping receipts. Robert Saleh, no one cares, bro.
One,
like,
maybe two
no one's going to
try to press him, but they'll get one question. And then Kyle won't go back to him.
Yeah, well, wait till he has that conference call tomorrow and I jump on it.
You better press him.
He's going to get some questions from me, man. I mean, the arrogance I cannot stand. And again, I don't blame Kyle Shanahan for this injury. Like, he couldn't have predicted that this was going to happen. But I do think he ran Trey Lance, quarterback power, up the middle too often. Even if Trey didn't get hurt, I would say that. Like we were talking about, 3rd and 8. Let him throw. That's a growth opportunity for Trey Lance, right? He's going to face some sort of exotic coverage, some creative coverage on defense. Let's see if he can do it. And if he can't do it, he'll be able to look at the film. He'll go to the sidelines. He'll look at the pictures, and maybe he'll get better from it. So
you're just stunting his growth. You're delaying his ability to learn.
Here's how bad it got in the press conference. Even David Lombardi questioned Kyle Shanahan. That's how you know there's a tone change. You're right on that one, Levin.
They have to. You have to start, like, Kyle, we have to start holding you accountable. Like, I've been pretty pro Kyle this entire time, but when you really start to think about some of these decisions, from the draft to time management to just play, I understand certain blocks don't get made, and the play, if it hits, it's fine. It's but there's certain sequences, like today is a perfect example. 2nd and 8, and you're running a QB draw, like, or RPO, whatever it was, or zone read. It's like, come on, man, like, chill out with this stuff, especially with the quarterback that needs to throw. The plus side to this game, I thought all the running backs looked good. All of them. TDP looked strong. Jeff Wilson looked strong. We didn't get to see Mason, and then Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, by the way, is going to get all that incentive money.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way he's not getting that money. What is he at? 120 yards for the season rushing already? Didn't they say that he had like 354 or something like that? Like, it was a specific number. Like,
yeah.
He's going to pass that, and he's going to get at least 6 rushing touchdowns this year. It's not gonna happen.
Speaking of hitting incentives, Jimmy Garoppolo, 350 grand for winning this game. He gets 250,000 every time he plays more than 25% of the offensive snaps, and 100,000 for every time one of those games is a win. Jimmy's going to make some bank this year.
It's going to eat away at that cap space for next year. They're still going to have a lot, but they're not going to have nearly as much as they thought. He's going to get just about every incentive probably. I got a tweet here that I want to respond to because I don't really understand it. It's from Rob Lauder. He says, I'm reading a lot of frustration towards Kyle Shanahan play calling. Trey Lance only carried the ball 3 times in the first quarter, including the play he got injured. Is that too much? Should Lance never carry the ball? 3 carries, and you're not even through the first quarter, puts you on pace for 12 plus carries in a game. Yeah, that's too much. Having 12 designed carries a game for your quarterback is not the way to go. So yes, 3 carries so far in the game was too much. I don't get that. I hate that. They look at the number and they put it as like an end of game. Yeah, if he had 3 designed runs at the end of the game, yeah, that's not too much. But we're talking about midway through the first quarter.
Josh Delgado says Kyle acts like he's too great to be questioned about anything.
He does.
I agree. There's a degree of arrogance there. For him to say that, you guys should try watching some other people. And also, P.S., like, Josh Allen's a bit of a unicorn, too. Like, let's point that out. Like, you're banking on Trey Lance being, a unicorn in the NFL. It's like somebody that doesn't get injured when running all the time. That's very frustrating. Let's get to some of the other good things in this game. I said going in that Geno Smith is a quarterback that this 49ers defense should chew up and spit out, and they did. It was utter domination. Geno ended the day 24 of 30 for 197 yards and an interception. It was not that good. A lot of that was garbage time at the end of the game. The 49ers defense smothered the Seahawks, and it wasn't totally satisfying because of the Trey injury, but it was still pretty damn satisfying, Javi.
Yeah, absolutely. The defense was outstanding from Hufanga, who I've been critical of, but he fires off the ball much better than I expected. He hasn't been tested much in coverage just yet, vertically, but for what they're asking him to do, he's excelling. So shout out to Hufanga for doing that. How about Charvarius Ward pretty much being sticky everywhere he goes? And Sam Womack, he was on the field quite a bit today. What did he get targeted? Maybe once, twice? He's doing his job too. They found a really good player in Sam Womack. The defensive line, Charles Omenihu, outstanding. Kevin Givens played a hell of a game. Nick Bosa, dominant as usual. Kinlaw taking up double teams. Like, this defensive line with this rotation is going to be a problem for other teams going forward, as long as they stay healthy. And then, of course, Fred Warner being Fred Warner. Like, he's literally taking away targets from tight ends and running backs because he flashes so much. This defense was outstanding today. Geno Smith is not very good. They beat up on a bad Broncos team last week and barely won that game. I fully expected this result in this game. I was not worried about Geno Smith one bit going into this game. Dre Greenlaw, 8 tackles. Charvarius Ward, 8 tackles. Tackle for loss for Greenlaw, 1. Let's see here. Hufanga had 1. They had 6 tackles, 7 tackles for loss today. Like, pass deflections. Hufanga had 2. Emmanuel Mosley had 1. Tayshaun Gibson had 1. Like, they got busy in the back end of the defense as well. This might be the best version of the 49ers defense we've seen under Kyle Shanahan. And I said that a while ago, but the addition of Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley just keeps climbing. He's going to get better, and he's only gotten better since he's gotten here. They got something with this secondary. Once Jimmy Ward gets back, watch out.
All right, so I'll say this, and then I'm going to go. This defense is as good or better than 2019. And I think with that and the offense being pretty close, if not as good as 2019, I think that's still the ceiling. This team could dominate a lot of games this year and win the division and make some noise in the playoffs. Now, can Jimmy get it done in the playoffs when he plays better defenses? Probably not. We've already seen what he can do, but he could have a unicorn playoff like Joe Flacco, and the Niners can still win the Super Bowl. So yes, optimism will come back. Maybe by the time we record our gold standard later this week, I'll probably be about halfway between moved on and still in mourning. And then probably about time the kickoff of next week will be when I'm kind of fully mentally just, okay, we're just going to move forward and make the best of whatever we can do. And hopefully we win things with Jimmy and figure things out in the offseason after that.
How do you, Levin, we always base it off quarters, right? In the NFL, they're 1-1. How do they finish the next two? You think they go 3-1 here? I think they can go 3-1 here.
I think they can. I think they certainly can. The Rams they got issues. Put it that way. They are not as good as last year, and plus, the Niners have had the Rams number, and Denver is not nearly as scary as they were 2 weeks ago. They weren't.
Yeah.
They're not nearly as scary as they were a week ago. Because
They were getting booed at home.
Thought, well, it's first week. They're returning to Seattle. They'll bounce back this week. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, the Denver crowd was literally booing Russ Wilson already. So if the Niners can go in there next week and get a win, boy, that might end up being an all-time train wreck of a quarterback trade situation for Russell Wilson.
All right, Levin, thanks for hopping in here. I will talk to you on Thursday. Try to, I don't know, tweet your way through it or drink your way through it, or
probably not best I tweet my way through it, because there's a chance somebody pisses me off, and I'm at the point now where I might not be able to filter myself fast enough.
All right, take it easy, Levin.
So, Rob, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions here. It's very hard for me not to.
Here we go.
Quote from Kyle Juszczyk. I don't want to downplay how much we feel for Trey, because it's really a big deal, but this is the reason you buy insurance. Jimmy was kind of our insurance policy in case something like this happened. I don't like that tone. I don't like it. It just only one. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this locker room was fully behind Trey Lance, the decision to move on.
The second they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, I said the 49ers either doubt Trey Lance's ability or they doubt his availability. And it turns out maybe both, but at least for now it's availability, because he was there, and no one ever asked Jimmy, and I wish they did when in his press conference, nobody ever asked Jimmy, why did you lose your job? Because if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you went to the NFC Championship game for the second time in 3 years, right? So the team snuck into the playoffs. You helped a 17-point comeback in the final week of the season to get into the playoffs. Nobody ever asked him, why'd you lose your job? I wanted them to, because I would have been fascinated to hear his answer. But, I mean, you could see the love for Jimmy. It was clear they still love Jimmy Garoppolo. You could see it on the sidelines of this game. And this is it now. Trey's out, and it's Jimmy's ship, and it doesn't, in a way, all that locker room stuff is over, because there's no other option except Jimmy Garoppolo now. So it doesn't matter if people like Trey. He can't play. He is gone. It's Jimmy's team, and we're just going to have to roll the dice and see where we go.
And then he adds on to it. He said, when Jimmy came in, it felt like Niner football. What?
I don't like that.
Come on,
that
man.
I don't like.
What are we doing here?
I mean, players only care about winning. I've been telling people, they don't care about the long-term development of a player or a franchise. Playing football is hard. It hurts. You're in pain basically all the time. All you want to do is get rewarded for that pain. You're willing to accept it, but you want to win games and play in big, meaningful games. And all the players know, regardless of the other circumstances that you and I see and we talk about, when Jimmy's in, they win. And that makes it worth it to them. That's why he's so loved. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's all they care about, winning. And I think the fan base, that's all they care about too, is winning, right? They're not, the window is open, right? And if Lance doesn't develop the way you want him to develop, then your window's shut. You only go as far as your quarterback does. And if Jimmy Garoppolo can get you back to the playoffs, and you're back in the playoffs, and Kyle's all he cares about is winning too. He's not, I don't think I'm not saying he doesn't want to develop a quarterback, but he understands his roster is ready to go right now. They're ready to win, make a playoff push, potentially win a Super Bowl. But I think we've seen this with Jimmy. We know he's not the guy to win you a Super Bowl unless for some reason he has a rocket arm for the rest of the career, the rest of the year. I don't see it. I see this team winning 10 games, 11 games, making the playoffs. And that's positive. I shouldn't even be mad about that. But it's been 26 years. We need another title here. Let's get a title.
Chris Lauren, watching on the YouTube page, says, you guys don't care about winning? Yes, of course we care about winning, but I care about winning a championship. A championship. I don't care about beating the Seahawks in week 2, okay? I don't care
about beating the Rams 6 in a row and then losing in the NFC title game.
A lot of quarterbacks could have come in and won this game today. It's not like Jimmy Garoppolo did anything special in this win. Did he play well? He played okay. And that was good enough. But we're talking about championships. That's why this is a gut punch, because you drafted Trey Lance to help you win a championship, to get a quarterback that could go God mode. Like Patrick Mahomes went God mode and won a Super Bowl against us. And now we don't have that. So we'll see.
It's frustrating, man. I think they're gonna be fine. You know, the upside to today's game though, to me, I think the Niners got a little bit of their identity back there too. 45 rushes for 189 yards, 4.2 a clip, 2 rushing touchdowns. Like, to have Jeff Wilson get you 18 for 84, and then you have a healthy dose of Ty Difference-Price. He wasn't super spectacular, but he broke off a couple that were decent. Right, that's positive. That's what you want with your rookie. Go forward with that. He's got more juice than Trey Sermon did, so maybe you didn't miss on this pick, right? And then you add in the running with Deebo Samuel, who had an explosive run, right? It was 51 yards, something like that. That's explosive. Like, that's a pot. Oh, yeah, it was 51. Ty Difference-Price had a long of 20, and then Wilson had a long of 16. So they did that.
Here's how the 49ers drives went in the first half. Field goal, touchdown, turnover on downs, punt, touchdown. Like, they were moving the ball. It was very impressive. And the thing that I loved in this game is they got the ball in the hands of the playmakers. You scroll down, and what do you see? Who leads the team in interceptions? Ayuk and Deebo, both tied at 5. Who leads the team in targets? Ayuk and Deebo. Ayuk had 8. Deebo had 6. Obviously, Deebo also had 4 carries in the game. They got the ball in the hands of their best people. I like Juwan Jennings. He should never, ever, 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 ever lead the 49ers in receiving unless disaster has occurred. Like, no.
Yeah.
They have all this talent, but if you don't put the ball in their hands, they can't show it. And they did that this week, and they won by 20 points.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, who would have thought, you get your best players involved, you win games.
Right.
Who would have thought? Like, you need to give Brandon Ayuk 8 targets a game, minimum. Minimum. It's the same thing with George Kittle whenever he decides to get back. 8 targets for George, 7 to 6 for Deebo, and get him his 4 carries out of the backfield. That's how you win games. You get your best players involved no matter what. And then you sprinkle in Juwan Jennings, 3rd and 6 conversion. You sprinkle in a Ray McLeod, a little 16-yard crosser. And then you sprinkle in a potential deep shot to Danny Gray now. Like, that's how you win ball games. Kyle knows this. I don't know why he plays dumb with some of this stuff. Get your best playmakers the ball. Stop getting cute. Just go forward. Like, just go.
How great was it when Mooney intercepts that stupid halfback pass that the Seahawks run in the red zone? They go 4 running backs in the game, and they have the running back throw a pass. And then Pete Carroll tells Fox at halftime, oh, the play worked. We just need a better throw. No, it didn't, dude. No, Ward broke off from his responsibility to intercept the ball, but there was another player right there that had sniffed it out that was guarding the receiver. The play did not work. The 49ers defense was awesome in this game. It was everything we thought it was going to be and more.
Oh, yeah. And who's that running back thing is? Deebo Samuel? Like, Deebo throws a better pass than that. What are you doing? Like, you saw it all the way. Like, I guess he didn't see Javarius Ward sinking on that. He sunk on that and boop, interception. And that's also, the free agency, that's probably been their best free agent addition in a while to Javarius Ward. And shout out to him. I'm glad they got him. And he looks all the part of being a cornerback 1, maybe even just, an upper tier CB2. But that's all you need with this defense, especially if your defensive line is doing what they do. Just have competent quarterback play. It's an upgrade from Josh Norman, that's for sure.
Oh my God. Anybody would be an upgrade over Josh Norman.
And then, so somebody who hasn't get enough credit today, I thought Drake Jackson played better. I thought he played well today. You add him in there, right? And again, he's theoretically replacing D Ford. D Ford gave you 6 games. If Drake Jackson gives you 10 games and he gives you 5-6 sacks, that's a +2. Like, you have all this, you have that's makes your defense so much better. And you have other guys where Bosa might get a one-on-one as opposed to being double team all the time. Because now you got to worry about 95 over there. Oh yeah, there's Kinlaw, there's Armstead, and then there's Bosa. So the defense is on the big positive is the defense doing what they did. Pitching a shutout on defense is not common in the NFL, and they did that today. Whether it's Geno Smith or whoever the quarterback is, it's still a very tall task to do that. I think they went 0-8 on their offensive possessions. Like, they didn't do anything. It was punt. Halftime, punt. Like, that was it. Like, they did what they had to do.
They ran the Seattle Seahawks ran 19 plays in the second half of this game because the 49ers just shut them down. A lot of people want to give Talanoa Hufanga, the unrelenting, as I call him, the game ball. I will say this. In 2 games this year, the 49ers have 2 interceptions by their safeties. With Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt, They had like no interception. Ward had that one game with the Rams where he had 2 picks last year. Other than that, nothing. No interceptions. And I'm not saying that they're better than those guys because obviously Jimmy Ward is awesome, but Talanoa Hufanga makes freaking plays, man. He's around the ball. I love him. I know that he's, probably not going to be the best in coverage and he hasn't been tested, and that's fine. There is a role for him on this team. He can make game-changing plays, and he's done it in 2 weeks. He's done it twice.
Yeah, he's had a very, very, very good start to this, as being the strong safety one for this team now, right? He's playing really, really good. I don't think he's playing the best safety in the NFL. I think Minka Fitzpatrick is doing that, but Talanoa Hufanga has done a very, very nice job in 2 weeks, and that's all you can ask for from a guy who was who called himself, a special teamer. He wants to go as a Pro Bowl special teamer. So he's developing nicely. He's playing good football. And I think what got lost in a lot of this stuff is, the COVID year. These guys didn't get enough reps, and these guys are starting to develop. Hufanga looks much better than he did last year, and that's a plus. And hopefully he only gets better. And we'll see what happens when people start to test him vertically, right? We'll see what happens there if they start taking shots at him. But by the time they start taking shots at him, I think Jimmy Ward will be back, and then you have this other safety dynamic going on there too. So hopefully Jimmy Ward is back by week 5 and Kittle's back by week 3, and this team should be off and running. I do feel good about this team going forward. I know the first half of the podcast was pretty just upsetting, but I'm starting to calm down thinking about it all. It's like, okay, if the bar this year for me with Trey Lance was 9 wins, the bar still stays the same with Jimmy Garoppolo, 9 to 10 wins, and that's where we are. And if you can get to 10 wins in a soft NFC, you're going to be in the playoffs. You might have to play on the road, but we've seen Kyle Shanahan's offense and defense will travel. Run game and defense will travel, and they have those two things for sure right now.
And so will the fans. We know that. Niners DNA says Jeff Wilson Jr. gets the game ball for me. He responded big time. He was solid today. 18 carries, 84 yards, no touchdowns, just a solid player. Stephen Garrett says Trent Williams nearly murdered multiple men this game. I think he was very upset about his performance in week 1. It did not go well for him, and he took it out on the Seahawks today, and good. They deserved it.
Oh, dude, he ran over 3 people in one point. I was like, what? And it's part of his, you want to respond after a poor game like that in week 1, right? Like, you're better than what you showed in week 1, and you should have, and you also, the team was better than what they showed in week 1. They were not very disciplined in week 1. This week they come in 1 penalty, no turnovers. That's discipline. That's coaching. That is, hey, D'Amico, Kyle getting a game plan together and saying, hey, look, we're not going to have this nonsense. And whatever they had to do during the week, they did it to, clean up that nonsense. He had 12 penalties last week, 3 of them on 3rd down that cost you 13 points. None of that happened this week. Outside of a block punt, this game was never in doubt. It was never in doubt from the jump.
I do think Kyle does deserve a little praise for that. You had a horrible penalty week. He said they get better at it. They had 1 penalty, which I know a lot of people were arguing the pass interference wasn't even a penalty. I honestly don't even remember it that closely. I can't tell you if it was or if it wasn't, but 1 is still, that's very good.
I think Emmanuel Mosley was in zone where he was trailing Metcalf a little bit. The ball kind of hung up there a little bit too long, and he kind of touched Metcalf's helmet, like he got up on top of him and reached out. So he might have been a little bit early, but to me, that was pretty darn clean. I don't see why they would have did it.
Do you see this play? Chris Ricciardi on the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Jennings getting aggressive, but not getting called for a penalty. He actually got face masked. They didn't call it. But you're right. This game got chippy, man. Game got chippy a little bit. It's a good point by Chris pointing it out. Seahawks, I think, were a little frustrated by the score, but
all the runs.
Right. Yeah. That does generally piss teams off. The Niners usually don't lose their cool in game, except for Dre Greenlaw, who inexplicably just loses his head. But most of the time, they're pretty calm and they handle themselves well. I thought that was a good one. I like Juwan, just don't want him leading the team in receptions. That's all.
Yeah, with Jennings, I mean, we saw it last year. Remember, Ayuk and Patrick Peterson got into it.
Yeah.
So it is when these wide receivers are basically pancaking DBs, they don't like it. And learn how to stop the run. And Kyle's going to continue to run the ball down your throat, which also pisses me off about the Trey Lance thing. You had running backs running all day long, literally 4 yards per carry. Just running with your running backs, man. Let this kid develop. But with Jennings and the wide receivers, even on the Debo reception on 3rd down where Debo had that choice route Ayuk's looking for work. The first guy he sees, he plows right into him.
Yep.
Boom, conversion. Like these wide receivers understand the assignment of getting downfield, blocking for their wide receivers, blocking for their running backs. This is a well coached team when it comes to blocking in the run game and getting yards after the catch in the pass game. So, Michael Jackson and Kobe Bryant, like did you think about that too, by the way? Those are the Seahawks cornerbacks, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jackson.
I know that Kobe's and he wears 8 too, which for me,
so.
I'm old enough to remember when Kobe Bryant wore 8. I want to point out one thing is they got to get better in the red zone with their play calling. And Kyle just calls runs every time in the red zone. He was doing it with Trey Lance. He only threw or tried to throw like 1 or 2 passes in the red zone with Trey Lance the whole year this year. But they have got to get better in the red zone. They 4th and 2 at the goal line or 4th and 2 at the 2. They try a field goal, which of course gets blocked. Like this game should have been an even bigger blowout for the 49ers. They just could not cash the ball in when they got in the red zone.
Yeah. That's the only thing. They got to cash in the red. The twice they settled for field goals from the 2-yard line or whatever it was. Like you got to just punch that in. Like, let's go. Punch it in. You can't, because better teams are going to make you pay for it. And this is the one where they block it and then he gets the first one. But you got to go punch that stuff in. Get a little more aggressive. I was dying for Kyle to call a pass play into the red zone.
Yes.
Call pass play. You have Deebo Samuel, who is the slant god. He's going to get open on a slant. Throw the ball. Throw the ball in the red zone. What are we doing?
Well, and the weird thing was they were the best red zone team in the league last year. So it's like, and Jimmy was the quarterback. So it's like, you should know what you're doing here, Kyle. Just come on, do some of that stuff that you were doing last year. And maybe some of it was just Deebo running the ball in, but they have to get better in that area because if they're getting field goals, then you force your defense to have to be otherworldly every game, every possession. And that's just not how you win games. They're going to let some plays happen. Like we saw in the Bears game, they had 2 bad plays and it cost them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Better teams will make you pay for that stuff. Luckily, Denver's not very good. And the Rams, we all know how that stuff goes. The Rams are, a team that, outside of the NFC Championship game, they don't play us very well. So you can get away with that stuff early on, but that's got to be cleaned up towards, that's got to get cleaned up every week. You have to be better in the red zone. You have to punch it in, at the very least get 6, especially after those long drives. What was it, 9 plays for the first one before the field goal, the first drive of the game. 9 plays. Yeah, 9 plays on the first possession just to get with 3, right? And you had 2, you had the first down, the first 3rd and 6, Lance gets that first down. Then you had the pass to Wilson. So they were 2 of 2 on 3rd down to start the game. So, that's another thing. The 3rd down conversions were up this week, much better than last week. So that's, it's good. This team's going to slowly build it back up. It's, they always say the first 3 weeks or first 4 weeks are basically the extended preseason. So they did what they had to do. Niners were 6 of 15 on 3rd down and then 2 of 3 on 4th down. So those are all positives for this team. 70 offensive plays. And then time of possession, 38-20 to 21-40. Niners had 1 penalty for 26 yards. The Seahawks had 10 penalties for 106. And then the Niners red zone 2 for 5. So
hopefully they get that straightened out. And can we get a game in Denver without any freaking rain, please?
It's supposed to rain too when I'm there.
Are you serious?
That's what I saw on the weather report. I'll see what it looks like during the week, but
unreal. I mean, it's a day again.
Actually, no, Sunday clear. It's clear.
Good.
The high 74, low 49, but that's at 3. That should be for 3 p.m. So
you want to feel good about the win. It's a 27-7 win. The defense looked Super Bowl championship caliber. The offense was good enough, and yet it hurts. I'm hurting today, man. I am legitimately hurting because I feel like we have seen this movie before and we know how it ends.
I feel the same way I felt when I saw Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt in Kansas City.
Yep.
I went to that game. Gut-wrenching. My stomach sunk. My heart sunk for the guy. Right? Like, when you didn't trade very much to get Jimmy Garoppolo, but you just paid him. And this was the guy that was supposed to take us to the promised land. And it stunted his development, whether people want to believe it or not. It hurt Jimmy Garoppolo's development too. And this is going to hurt Trey Lance's development as well, right? Because now he can't focus on fixing a throwing motion or working on timing or working on things in practice. He's got to rehab a broken ankle. Like, and surgery. It's not, there's likely some tendon tears in there, and hopefully it's a clean fracture, and it just hurts I feel for the guy like I felt for Jimmy Garoppolo when he got hurt too. And it's, Grant Cohn had a great tweet. It's not to be funny, but he said it, time is a flat circle. He has a picture of Jimmy on the cart and Trey on the cart. It's like, Jesus, man, we can't get away from these huge injuries, and they come at the worst times too. This one for development for Trey. We had the Garrison Hurst injury in '98 when they were playing the Falcons. Like, that was a huge one, right? I like these things like haunt me, right? And then you have, if Justin Smith never gets hurt, did the Niners win that Super Bowl that year, right? He was huge for us, and the defense took a hit once he got hurt. The Bowman injury, like these they come at the worst times for this franchise, and it's super, super frustrating because it happens to some of the best people that have been on this team. Like, Garrison Hurst was to me, one of the better Niners. Jimmy Garoppolo has been a good Niner. Navarro Bowman, his career was ended short because of that, right?
He was there today.
Yeah.
He was there at the game. And the Cardinals just won in overtime, apparently.
Oh, God.
Plays under review, I guess, but
Raiders stink, dude.
Yeah, Raiders going to Raider. That's the scariest thing, is that the development, and Alex Smith, as Quinn points out watching on the YouTube page, Alex Smith had a shoulder injury early in his career, derailed him as well. Trey Lance's Niners career could be over. We don't know. Like, maybe he's going to come back next season, but is he going to be the starter? We don't know. There's a really good chance he's not. That's the crazy thing. We have no idea who the starting quarterback is going to be next year. The first year they don't have to give up a first round pick, and it might not be Trey Lance. It is like this 49ers team, man. It's crazy. It's never boring.
They are a content generating machine. That's what they are.
Well, we thank you. We thank everybody for your support. Again, please continue to rate, review, follow the Niners Nation Podcast Network. We are the fastest growing 49ers podcast on the planet. That is due to you, and we are grateful for the support, just like I'm grateful to you, Javi, for hopping in here. I know you had some thoughts before all this happened, and so you were even more fired up.
Yeah, it's, I've taken some time away from content, but I still watch the team closely. I read everything. I watch everything. I listen to everything in Niners Nation. Everyone should do that as well. Subscribe, rate, review, hit the like button. Put it as your first listen. The Niners in 5 every morning with Rob. Like, you guys are still killing it. This team is going to be fun to watch. There's nothing short of drama. There's nothing short of drama with this team. That is for sure. But I still have faith in this team. They're going to win 10 games. 10 games minimum, guaranteed.
And I know it sounds weird to be upset about a 10-win season. And trust me, I'm old enough to remember when the 49ers had 10-loss seasons all the time. Like, I'm grateful for a 10-win season. Don't get me wrong. It's just today, on the day, that hours away from the Trey Lance injury, yeah, it hurts a little bit. Thank you for grieving with us, talking through this. We'll get through it together, everybody. Again, rate, review, follow the Niners Nation Podcast Network. 1-1, on to Denver.